on the NBA and one comment is from Pat Kearney, says, I guess an NBA team showed interest and money does talk. A point to remember, if he gets hurt, now she's talking in reference to Duke's former Duke player Austin Rivers, who declared this past week, entered his name into the NBA draft, early entry draft, hired an agent. If he gets hurt playing in the NBA, he can return to college. But if he gets hurt bad in college, the NBA is gone forever. It's a great statement. A great statement. A lot of people, like I said about why I don't agree with, certainly don't agree with a proposal that John Calipari, I want to give him a new name, but John Calipari was saying allowing players to take out loans against their future earnings. That's one reason I'm against that, because a player could injure himself, permanent injury, and then be stuck with a major problem if he goes out there and get six-figure loan. And also, a very good comment comes from Lauren Ashley Smith, is I've always thought let the truly talented go pro after high school, and those that decide to go to school must be there a minimum of 2 to 3 years. Now, that's certainly one I do agree with. I think they should abolish that rule. I think that could cut down on a lot of this one and done crap that's going on. If the player is truly talented, for instance, Anthony Davis, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Prime example this season, but last season, Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving did not need to go to college. He was very talented after high school. Could have went straight from high school to the pros. Wouldn't even had this one, the one and done fiasco if it wasn't in place. Now, for those that agree to go to college, then yeah, you should be locked in for a 2 to 3 year rule. Should be in place. You should be locked in for 2 to 3 years. You and your family decided to go that route. So yes, if you commit to college, then make a commitment for at least 2 years, no more than 3 years. So I certainly like that. I like those two comments, but I certainly love the comment by Lauren in regards to the minimum, the 2 to 3 years if you decide to come to college. Now, certainly, the early entry draft I mentioned, Austin Rivers entered his name in. You have notably Mo Harkless from St. John's. Had a chance to watch him mid-season, not early in the season. C.J. McCollum, who the Lehigh Star, had that one good game, big game, to get some love. He started getting some press love. He hasn't hired an agent yet. Also, UNC Tar Heels trio, John Henson, Harrison Barnes, and Kendall Marshall have declared and entered their name into the 2012 NBA draft. But those are the names that maybe catch your eye, from national recognition, and also Dion Waiters he declared from Syracuse. So those are the most notable names. Now you may be saying, you may be sitting there saying, well, what does this have to do with what's going wrong with college basketball at this point? The thing that's going wrong is that I said that you hear more about the one and done rule than you're hearing about presently the Final Four, which is going to be happening on today, is the bonuses. What's going wrong is the bonuses that these Final Four coaches will be making for getting their teams to this Final Four in New Orleans. And we'll go over these huge bonuses on top of the huge salaries that most of these coaches are making anyway. It's just amazing to me. When I give you these numbers, you're going to see why I'm saying what is going wrong with college basketball. I will be right back, so please keep enjoying your morning coffee with Babethomherman. If you're looking for affordable health and insurance coverage, well then give Jonica Rowland of the Rowland Group a call. She's here to serve families, individuals, and small businesses. Contact her at 919-719-7211 or at 919-539-2492. Once again, contact Jonica Rowland of the Rowland Group. Once again, that's Jonica Rowland of the Rowland Group. The last name is spelled Rowland, like the town Rowland, North Carolina. I certainly hope you have been enjoying your morning coffee with Babethomherman. Don't know what brand you like, whether it's Maxwell House, Folgers. I'm a Starbucks man myself, so certainly hope you're enjoying it because I'm certainly enjoying mine. Now, if you're just tuning in, the discussion that we're having on this morning is all that is going wrong in big time college basketball. Now, before I took the break, I was talking about the one and done rule. Also, I forgot to mention that, of course, Coach Calipari does want a 2-year mandatory rule in place. Not the one and done. He wants at least 2 years. You may ask yourself, why would he want 2 years since he's having so much success with the one and done recruits? Wouldn't you want John Wall for 2 years? Wouldn't you want DeMarcus Cousins for 2 years? Wouldn't you want Anthony Davis, Kid Gilchrist for 2 years? Now, before I get into the gripe with the basketball coaches that are, or rather their teams are participating in the Final Four, before I get into my major beef with them, with my Facebook group, Babethomherman, Lauren Ashley Smith, she made a comment and I got permission from her to use this. Very knowledgeable young lady from up in the Virginia area. She said, and this is in reference, let's back up a little bit, to the one and done. She states, I've always thought let the truly talented go pro after high school, and those that decide to go to school must be there a minimum of 2 to 3 years. Now, I certainly agree with that concept. Now, I think if an NBA team is willing to invest into a 18-year-old young man, go for it. But I think if that same 18-year-old man declares or decides or commits to a school, then he should commit 2 to 3 years. No turning back. Just like that 18-year-old NBA player. If you make it or not. If you'll flop, no turning back. So I definitely agree with what she wrote. The coaches. Why I have a serious problem with this. The Final Four coaches, Tad Matta, let's start with him. He's already racked up $100,000 in incentives and bonuses for his team's performance in the Big Ten and NCAA tournament. Now, here's a coach that's already making $2.5 million in base salary. Now, I'm getting these figures from the USA Today's article, updated on March 30th of 2011, which they gave analysis of salaries for college basketball coaches during the 2011 season. Now, this is just when you see his incentive bonuses, you're going to say, oh, that's chump change compared to, let's go to Bill Self. The Ohio State coach we just talked about, Tad Matta. Let's go to Kansas coach Bill Self. Self makes actually around $3.3 million, according to the report. He basically will be he earned already a $50,000 performance bonus for winning the Big 12 regular season title. When his team pulled away late to beat North Carolina in the Midwest Regional Finals last Sunday, he guaranteed himself another $100,000. Now, if the Jayhawks can get by Ohio State and somehow beat the Kentucky-Louisville winner, then he gets an additional $200,000. So his total incentive package would be $350,000. That's chump change. When you look at models, that's chump change. Now, let's go to Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino is reported base salary-wise $7.5 million. Now, Rick Pitino looks like that he will, from the bonuses, he will receive $50,000 for winning the Big East tournament title. Another $50,000 for making the regional semis in finals, and $75,000 he made when the Cardinals knocked off Florida to get them to the Superdome in New Orleans. He will cash in another $150,000 if Louisville cuts down the Nets on Monday night. So, And now let's go to Calipari, who makes a reported $3.8 million a year or per season. Calipari, he's already earned $50,000 for capturing the Southeastern Conference regular season title, $100,000 each for making the regional semifinals and finals, and $150,000 for beating Baylor and taking the Wildcats back to the Final Four. Now, if he wins the NCAA title, his team cuts down the net on Monday night, he will get another $350,000. So I have to apologize to Tad Matta. That $100,000 incentive bonuses is chump change. If he wins, if Ohio State happens to win the national championship, I know they're going to have to restructure his contract for next year and throw some better bonuses in there, and probably base salary is going to probably be greater as well. And as we wind it down, you may ask what my thoughts are about the one and done. And here are my thoughts. Basically, I personally think that the NBA has to quit using the NCAA as their minor league system and start utilizing the NBA's D-League. Now, from a monetary perspective, the NCAA has to quit being a willing participant. To me, the NCAA is more worried about this whole issue of one and done student athlete. That's a bunch of crap, because the NCAA is more worried about not having most of these kids around long enough to cash in on their talents. Remember, the NCAA makes $770 million per year from that new television contract with CBS and Turner Sports. So that term that Mark Emmert always say, President Mark Emmert of the NCAA, always saying we are concerned about the student athlete, that's a bunch of bull crap. They're more concerned about cashing in, using these kids as cash cows. And until the NCAA quits being a willing participant in being a minor league system for the NBA, this fiasco is never going to change. Basically, the NBA needs to start expanding the NBA's D-League. You have 30 NBA teams. Why do you just have 16 teams? Minor league. They call themselves minor leagues. The NBA's D-League calls themselves the minor leagues for the NBA. Hogwash. Why are there 30 teams in the NBA and just 16 teams in your so-called minor league? Expand that league, and for kids that's coming out of high school that's 18 years old that are not interested in going to college, or they may be interested and just don't have the grades to cut it, let them enter the NBDL or the former NBDL. Let them enter the NBA's D-League, the quote-unquote minor league system for the NBA. And then after that kid or that teenager plays that 1 year mandatory and turns 19, for the next season, this young man, they can set aside what they can call, like the NFL has a supplemental draft. Let this young man, if he's that good, and think about the seats, think about the gate receipts. If you have a prime time 18-year-old kid who just is not considered college, and he's not fit for college, he don't want to go, or doesn't have the grades to go to college. Think about the gate receipts, the money that they could get from a star player coming out of high school, going to the NBA's D-League, playing for 1 year. I would be more interested in seeing a 5-star high school athlete enter the NBA's D-League than watching Antoine Walker play a game. I don't want to spend no money watching a has-been who's just coming back to play because he's broke. But I would certainly watch an 18-year-old kid, a talented kid, play for 1 year. And unfortunately, my time is up. And I certainly hope that you enjoyed your morning coffee with Babethomherman.